Emily's hand trembled as she held the envelope, its edges sharp, the paper crisp. Oh. She had never expected betrayal to come wrapped in a simple, official-looking notice. Her brother had always seemed like the reliable one, the protective one. And her mother, well, her mother had been a quiet force in her life. The kind who let things slide, the kind who always reminded her of family loyalty. But now, standing in the grand foyer of the house she had spent years dreaming about, Emily realized they had joined forces against her. Her eyes moved across the polished floors, across the familiar paintings, across the furniture she had picked out herself, each piece a memory, a choice, a fragment of her identity. How could you do this? She whispered, more to herself than to them. Her voice bounced off the high ceilings, empty except for the sound of her own shock. Her brother leaned against the staircase, the eviction notice dangling between his fingers like a trophy. Simple, Emily. You've been away for so long, Mom and I. We think it's time you stepped aside. This house belongs to the family, not just to you. His voice was calm, almost casual, as if discussing the weather rather than attempting to throw her out of her own home. Emily felt something crack inside her, like so. A mixture of disbelief and anger she couldn't quite articulate. Her mind raced. Memories of her childhood flashed before her. Nights she had stayed up studying, days she had worked extra hours to save for this place. The sacrifices she had made to achieve independence. And now all that effort was being dismissed with a shrug. A sense of entitlement that she had never expected from her own blood. She looked at her mother, searching for some hint of regret, some sign of hesitation, some softness. But all she saw was firmness, a steely resolve that made Emily's stomach twist. "Emily, you know we're doing this for your own good," her mother said, her voice eerily calm. "It's better if you move out. You're not living here the way we want." A laugh rose in Emily's throat, bitter and sharp. "Better. Better for whom? This is my home. Every corner, every wall, every detail here is mine." Her voice echoed, bouncing off the marble and glass, but it didn't seem to faze them. Her brother's smirk grew just slightly, a small, knowing curl of lips that spoke volumes of arrogance and confidence. Emily wanted to scream, to shake them, to make them understand the depth of the betrayal. But she stopped herself. Rage flared in her chest, but she needed clarity. She needed a plan. The fire inside her demanded action, demanded justice, demanded that they realize the enormity of what they were trying to do. And yet, for now, she had to control herself. Her brother stepped closer, waving the notice like it was a shield, a weapon of authority. "Look, Emily, we're not the villains here. We're just trying to protect the family. You've been gone so long, chasing your career, your lifestyle. We think it's time someone else takes charge. That's all." Eileen's mind whirled. She thought about the years she had poured into her work, the nights she had spent away from home, the sacrifices she had made to ensure she could live freely, independently, and with dignity. And now her family was trying to erase that, as if her existence and effort meant nothing. She could feel the anger rising, boiling under her skin. But it wasn't just anger, it was hurt, betrayal, confusion. The people who were supposed to support her, to encourage her, were now the ones who wanted to take everything from her. Her home, her sanctuary. Her proof of independence all under threat. Emily's gaze fell on the fireplace, the hearth she had decorated with photos of family, moments she cherished. Each frame seemed to mock her now, each image a reminder of the love she had once believed in and the trust that had been shattered. She could almost hear the walls whispering, accusing her of not belonging, of having achieved too much, of having moved beyond what they were comfortable with. Her brother's voice pulled her back from the spiral. "We're doing what's best," he repeated, trying to sound reasonable, trying to convince her. "You should thank us, actually. We're giving you a chance to start fresh somewhere else. It's an opportunity." Emily's laugh was sharp, cutting through the tension like glass breaking. "Opportunity? You call this an opportunity?" You're trying to evict me from my own home? Do you even hear yourselves?" Her mother's face softened slightly. A flicker of doubt maybe, but it vanished quickly. "Emily, you need to understand. We don't want conflict. Just think this is the right decision. You've been living your life, but it's time to let go of the house. It's not personal." Emily's heart sank. Not personal. The betrayal ran so deep it felt like a knife, twisting. How could they dismiss it so easily? Every word, every glance, every act of defiance on their part screamed personal. They were taking what was hers, disregarding her presence, her effort, her ownership. And then, amidst the whirlwind of disbelief and rage, a cold clarity settled over her. If they were going to fight her, if they believed they had the right to erase her existence here, then she had to act. But first, she had to survive the moment. She had to control the storm inside her, turn the anger into strategy, turn the pain into focus. Her eyes narrowed as she looked at her brother, still held the eviction notice like it gave him power. She realized that this wasn't just about property, it was about control, about power, about ego. And she wasn't going to let them win. Not now, not ever. Emily backed away slightly, composing herself. Her mind worked furiously. She needed proof. She needed leverage. She needed to make them realize, without shouting, without confrontation, that this house was hers not by sentiment, not by favor, but by law, by rights, by everything she had fought for. Her brother noticed her pause. "You're just going to stand there. Say something," he taunted, trying to provoke a reaction. Emily met his gaze steadily. "I'm listening," she said softly, deliberately. Her words were calm, but the storm behind them was gathering strength. "And you're about to learn something you should have checked before ever thinking you could push me out?" Her mother frowned, uncertainty creeping into her composed facade. Her brother's smirk faltered for a split second, just long enough for Emily to sense the first crack in their confidence. For the first time since the eviction notice arrived, Emily felt a surge of control. The tables were turning, not because she had acted yet, but because she had the awareness of the truth, the knowledge of her ownership, the power of preparation. This was the moment where the desire for revenge began to take shape. Not a reckless, cruel revenge, but a calculated one. One that would leave them stunned, speechless, and aware that underestimating her had been their first mistake. She inhaled deeply, letting the tension settle into a focused determination. Her mind was already plotting the next moves, the ways she could reclaim her home without a single fight, the ways she could let the truth speak louder than any argument. Her brother, sensing her shift in demeanor, took a cautious step back. Her mother's lips pressed into a thin line, betraying a flicker of worry. And Emily knew, in that instant, that she was no longer the person who could be pushed around or dismissed. She had been betrayed, yes. She had been blindsided, yes. But she was not defeated. Not yet. And as the evening light filtered through the tall windows, casting shadows across the floor, Emily's resolve hardened. This wasn't just about the house anymore. It was about reclaiming her dignity, asserting her rights, and ensuring that those who had tried to undermine her would face the undeniable truth. The battle had begun. She just had to wait for the right moment to strike. Emily closed the door behind her and let the silence swallow her whole. The house felt different. Now every corner, every polished surface, every familiar painting seemed to mock her. The betrayal wasn't just in the papers her brother had handed her. It was in the way they looked at her now, as though her presence was a mistake, as though her achievements didn't matter. She walked slowly through the rooms, touching the furniture she had chosen herself, the memories echoing like whispers. Laughter around the kitchen table, long evenings by the fireplace, moments she had shared with the people who were now trying to erase her. Her mind raced. She thought about the eviction notice, the casual way her brother had handed it over, as if he had the right to take everything from her. She remembered her mother's calm, almost clinical explanation, framing it as for her own good. But Emily knew better. This wasn't about good intentions. It was about control, about envy, about their need to feel superior. She could almost see it in their eyes. It's a twisted sense of justification that only fueled her anger. Anger mixed with hurt, and hurt mixed with a burning desire for justice. Emily sat down in her study, flipping open a drawer where she kept all the paperwork for the house: deeds, notarized documents, receipts, and legal agreements. Her fingers traced the edges of the papers, each one a reminder of what she had built, of the careful planning and sacrifices that had led her here. They might have thought they could intimidate her, push her out, or make her doubt herself, but they had underestimated her. They didn't realize that the weapon she held wasn't rigid, was truth. Still, Emily couldn't ignore the swirl of emotions inside her. She felt the pull of revenge, sharp and immediate, demanding action. The thought of confronting them, of exposing their greed, of making them feel the humiliation they had tried to impose on her, was intoxicating. She imagined walking into the room, papers in hand, letting them see the undeniable proof that she was the owner. She imagined the shock in their faces, the falter in their voices, the momentary loss of confidence as reality hit them. But a small voice whispered caution. Revenge could consume her if she wasn't careful. It could turn the satisfaction she craved into bitterness, leaving her hollow, empty, and unable to enjoy her own triumph. She had to choose wisely. Could she take back what was hers without letting anger define her actions? Could she reclaim her home and assert her dignity without destroying her family or herself in the process? Emily stood and began pacing. Her mind replayed every conversation, every interaction with her mother and brother over the years. She remembered moments when she had supported them, moments when she had given without hesitation, moments when she had believed in family loyalty. And now it felt as if all those years had been ignored, as if her sacrifices were invisible. That realization fueled her resolve. She wasn't just fighting for a house, she was fighting for recognition, for validation, for the acknowledgement of her worth. She stopped at the window and looked out at the sprawling estate, the gardens. She had designed the paths she had walked countless times. The beauty of it seemed taunting now, but it also reminded her of what she had fought for. Emily understood that the first step toward reclaiming her home wasn't confrontation. It was preparation, strategy, and control. Anger alone wouldn't win this battle. The next hours passed in a blur. Emily reviewed every document, every clause, every line that confirmed her ownership. She memorized details, ensuring she could produce them at the right moment. She envisioned every possible reaction from her mother and brother, from disbelief to anger to attempts at negotiation or manipulation. She considered how each scenario might play out, how she could remain calm and in control, how she could let the truth strike harder than words ever could. Her thoughts drifted briefly to what revenge might feel like if she gave in to it fully. She imagined calling them out in front of their friends, exposing their motives, humiliating them with every word. She imagined letting her anger run wild, screaming, showing them the full force of her outrage. The images were tempting, visceral, satisfying in theory, but Emily quickly shook them away. She didn't want hollow victory. She wanted justice, clarity, and the power that comes from knowing she had done the right thing at the same time. She acknowledged the fear that lingered beneath the surface. What if they didn't accept reality? What if they tried to fight back legally, emotionally, socially? What if asserting her rights caused irreparable damage to relationships she still valued? That fear twisted in her chest, but Emily didn't let it paralyze her. Instead, it sharpened her focus. She realized that the best revenge wasn't cruelty, was inevitability. She had to be unshakable, undeniable, and calm. Emily walked through the house again, imagining the confrontation. She pictured her brother leaning casually, expecting resistance. She pictured her mother attempting to reason, to guilt her into giving up. And she pictured herself standing steady, composed, ready with the truth. The scenario thrilled her. It wasn't about shouting or drama, it was about control, about asserting reality, about making them face the undeniable without losing her composure. Hours turned into evening, and Emily finally paused, exhausted but resolute. She had mapped out every detail, where to stand, when to speak, how to present her evidence. She had rehearsed her words mentally, anticipating challenges, objections, and denials. She had transformed her initial shock and rage into a precise plan, one that would allow her to reclaim what was hers without giving in to destructive emotions. And yet, beneath the strategy and preparation, the emotional storm remained. Betrayal had left its mark, felt sadness, a raw ache for the trust that had been broken. She felt disappointment in her mother, confusion over her brother's motives, and a flicker of doubt about whether the family she knew even existed anymore. But Emily didn't let those emotions dominate her. She acknowledged them, let them exist, and then channeled them into determination by nightfall. The house was quiet again. The only sounds the soft hum of the air conditioning and the occasional creak of settling floors. Emily sat by the fireplace, documents spread around her, a notebook of notes detailing her plan. She realized she wasn't just planning a confrontation, she was planning a reclamation of power, of dignity, of identity. Every line she read, every clause she memorized, every scenario she considered was a step toward asserting her rightful place. She smiled faintly, a mixture of satisfaction and anticipation. The storm inside her had calmed, replaced by focus and strategy. The revenge she craved no longer looked like anger and chaos. It looked like inevitability, like truth revealed at the perfect moment. Her brother and mother thought they had power over her, but Emily knew better. She held the real power, quiet and steady, waiting for the exact moment to strike. That night, Emily lay in bed, but sleep didn't come easily. Her mind replayed the events, the betrayal, and the plan she had constructed. She visualized the confrontation, felt the tension in her chest, and let it fuel her resolve. She didn't want to hurt them unnecessarily. She didn't want drama. She wanted recognition, justice, and the undeniable affirmation that this house's life and this achievement were hers. And deep inside, Emily realized something crucial. Revenge wasn't about humiliation. It wasn't about satisfaction or ego. It was about reclaiming control, reclaiming truth, and reclaiming herself. The plan she had forged was not just for the house, was for her own dignity, her own confidence, her own peace of mind. Tomorrow, she would face them. Tomorrow, she would let the truth speak louder than any argument, louder than any entitlement, louder than any betrayal. And she would watch quietly as they realized their mistake, their misjudgment, their misunderstanding of who she truly was. The battle had shifted. Emily wasn't just reacting anymore. She was ready, prepared, and unshakable. And when the moment came, she would reclaim not just her home, but her power, her identity, and the respect she deserved. The morning sun spilled through the tall windows, casting long shadows across the marble floors. Emily stood in the center of the living room, calm and collected, documents neatly stacked in her hands. Her heart beat steadily, though beneath the surface a fire still burned. Today was the day she would confront her mother and brother, and this time she would not be ignored, dismissed, or pushed aside. Her brother arrived first, walking in with the same smug confidence he had worn. When handing her the eviction notice, he stopped mid-step when he saw her standing there, the papers in her hands, her posture unshakable. "You ready?" he said cautiously, trying to mask the doubt creeping into his tone. Emily didn't answer immediately. She let the moment stretch, the silence thick and heavy, pressing against their composed facades. Her mother followed, her expression controlled but her eyes betraying a hint of unease. Emily felt a thrill of satisfaction. The anticipation, the quiet before the storm was intoxicating. Finally, she spoke. Before you even think about taking another step, check the owner. Her voice was calm, deliberate, carrying authority. Confusion flashed across their faces. Her brother frowned, stepping closer. What do you mean? Emily handed him the top document, a notarized deed confirming her full ownership of the house. She watched as his eyes scanned the lines, the legal language, the signature and seal at the bottom. His smirk faltered, just slightly, replaced by disbelief. This can't be right, he muttered. Her mother leaned in, trying to read over his shoulder. The color drained from her face as she realized what Emily had handed them. Though truth was undeniable. Every clause, every signature, every notarization confirmed Emily was the rightful owner. Emily held her ground, her calm, a sharp contrast to the growing panic in their eyes. I know this is hard for you to accept, she said softly, almost pitying them. You thought you could push me out, take control, and it would be simple. But it's not. This house belongs to me. Legally, morally, and by every right. Her brother dropped the papers onto the nearest table, stepping back as if the weight of reality had physically struck him. He opened his mouth, then closed it. Words failed him. Emily had anticipated this reaction. The shock, the disbelief, the temporary paralysis was exactly what she had planned for. Her mother's voice broke the silence. Trembling slightly, Emily, I thought we were doing what was best. I didn't realize. Emily shook her head, keeping her tone steady, almost gentle. You didn't realize that trying to take what isn't yours doesn't make it right. You didn't realize that betrayal leaves scars, not just on me, but on all of us. I've spent years building my life, and no one, not you, not anyone has the right to erase that. Her brother's jaw tightened. He tried to argue, tried to reclaim some semblance of control, but Emily anticipated every word. You don't get it, he said finally. We just thought. This house belongs to the family, that's all. Emily's gaze hardened. You thought wrong? Ownership isn't about entitlement. It's about action, responsibility, and proof. I have all three. You have none. And now you need to accept that. Her mother looked away, guilt and fear swirling across her face. She opened her mouth as if to protest, then closed it again. Emily's eyes followed every movement, every flicker of hesitation, every shift in weight. She had studied them, anticipated their reactions, and now she let the silence do part of the work. Silence was louder than anger, sharper than insults, and more damning than any argument they could muster. Her brother's hands fidgeted. Emily could see the mental battle raging inside him, the ego that refused to lose, the embarrassment that he hadn't anticipated, the shame of being proven wrong so decisively. He wanted to argue, to convince her, to regain control, but he had no foothold. Emily had dismantled it with calm, preparation, and the undeniable truth. Then she spoke again, softer this time, almost intimate in tone. I don't want to hurt you. I don't want revenge. But I will protect what's mine. That's all I'm doing. The rest is up to you. Her mother's eyes filled with tears, the first real crack in her composure. I just wanted what I thought was right, she whispered. Emily took a step closer, not in threat, but in quiet authority. What's right isn't what you want it to be. What's right is reality. And reality is that this house is mine. If I've worked for it, I've earned it, and I will not be moved. The tension in the room was palpable. Emily's brother slumped, slightly, the fight draining from him as the weight of defeat sank in. He realized that no amount of reasoning, no attempt at manipulation could change the truth. For the first time, Emily saw fear in his eyes, not of her, but of the undeniable fact that he had miscalculated, underestimated, and now had to face the consequences. Her mother finally spoke again, quieter, almost a whisper. I understand. I'm sorry, Emily. Emily nodded, accepting the apology without a smile. She didn't need their validation. She didn't need to humiliate them. She had already won. The truth had spoken. And it had spoken louder than anger or manipulation ever could. She let them linger in the realization, feeling the power shift fully to her. This wasn't revenge in the dramatic sense. There was no shouting, no confrontation, no spectacle. It was the calm, devastating certainty of truth. And in that certainty, Emily found satisfaction deeper than any fleeting gratification that revenge might have offered. Her brother finally muttered, We messed up. Yes. Emily said softly, You did, and now you know. Her mother didn't respond. She simply turned and walked toward the kitchen. Her steps slow, thoughtful, burdened with guilt. Emily didn't follow. She didn't need to. The confrontation was over. The reclaiming of her home, her dignity, and her peace of mind was complete. Emily walked through the house, her footsteps echoing in the quiet halls. Every room, every corner, every object reminded her of the life she had built and the truth she had upheld. She breathed in the familiar air, feeling the weight of victory and the release of tension that had bound her since the betrayal. She realized that revenge could take many forms. But the most satisfying form was the one where justice and truth did the work. Sitting in her study later, Emily reflected on the day. She had faced her family, confronted betrayal, and reclaimed what was hers without stooping to cruelty. The satisfaction wasn't in humiliation or payback, was in clarity, in authority, in standing firm and letting the undeniable truth speak. For the first time since the eviction notice arrived, Emily felt at peace. She had asserted her rights, reclaimed her space, and maintained her integrity. The betrayal of her family had tested her, challenged her, and forced her to confront her own emotions. But in the end, she had emerged stronger, wiser, and more confident in her ability to protect what mattered most. She realized that revenge, in its rawest form, could be dangerous, consuming, and hollow. But the measured assertion of truth, the reclaiming of control, and the quiet exposure of reality could offer a deeper, more lasting satisfaction. Emily looked out the window at the gardens she had designed, the paths she had walked countless times. They were hers, untouched by the temporary chaos her family had tried to impose. She smiled softly, a mixture of relief and quiet triumph. The battle had ended, not with drama or shouting, but with calm authority and undeniable reality. And in that moment, Emily understood the lesson that the betrayal had brought. Revenge might tempt you, anger might urge you, but truth and resilience always prevail. You don't need to destroy others to reclaim yourself. You only need to stand firm, let the truth shine, and wait for the moment when reality makes its own statement. Her home, her sanctuary, her life, everything she had built was safe. And Emily, stronger than ever, was ready to continue living. Unshaken, undefeated, and aware that the greatest victories are the ones that leave your integrity intact.